Yo, what's up guys? New video of today. I've been asked a lot, what is your DokiDoki team? What's your Terramaton team? What's your Aurora team? Can you show the gear? Can you show the modules? Can you show the shells? This video is going to be covering all of that. I can auto all 4 Hell stages right now. I'm not on Inferno yet. The moment we are in Inferno, I definitely will be showcasing that as well. I will be showcasing one run of a thing. Then I will be showcasing all of the modules of that one. I will be talking a little bit about what are the strategies and what are the things that I'm aiming for. And so we go from there. In the DokiDoki, which is the longest run, I will just start from this point on because the first part of the wave, everyone can clear. And then the second part, that's why you die. So might you ask replacements? Because that's always a question I get. I would say Lily is probably replaced by a Freya. I think that's the best replacement. Claws can be replaced by a Grey. These two are relatively easy to get, so I wouldn't really replace them in the first place. Messiah can be replaced by a Romocha or by another damage dealer like a Siada or something like that. So I think that these are the kind of things. Also, if you don't have a Freya, I would say Shiaki the Echo. But have to keep in mind, every replacement I say does make it a little bit harder to run. So this is, in my opinion, one of the better teams. I would say if you put a Romocha in here, it's probably better. But if you put Romocha in there, maybe also Freya over here. No, you have the double attack buff, it's not really that needed. But those are the things for replacement. But let's look at the stats and the run itself. So the main thing on this team for me is that I needed a decent amount of tankiness, especially on the Valyrian. I really do like the Halloween on the Kazuya. And those are the main things that I'm actually aiming for, like how much damage your Messiah is. Doesn't matter as much. It's really about like, can you disrupt the boss or the things as much as possible. Also, what's very important is in a lot of cases, you would go for straight to the boss. In this case, the boss does have that stacking of the revenge over here and it starts doing a lot of damage. You want to be changing that to wave 1, doesn't really freaking matter. Wave 2, you want to be clearing the side things first because those are the ones to transform. Those are already transformed, so it doesn't really matter. Clear those later. And then you go for the Elite Valor. So that's the main thing that you want to go for on this. I actually did manual DokiDoki for a fair bit just to get more upgrades in because 3 of the units over here on the field are using Swift Rush. So if you need Swift Rush to farm Swift Rush, you got the manual for a little bit. But at some point I was like, oh, I just like auto it for 1 run and then just see how good it does. And that's actually exactly the point where it was like, yo, actually it's doing a full proper clear. So I actually would have to wait until this one is finished to go into all of the units. No, actually, let's not do that. We're just gonna go into the units from this side over here, looking at all of the stats. So we have the Messiah modules. I'm rocking a crit rate, crit damage, crit rate. You don't necessarily have to go for crit rate, crit damage as well. Just use whatever is good. Because I have a lot of people ask me, it's like, oh, they see the stats and then they're like, but what are the main stats on those? To be honest, doesn't matter. You just get the best stats for the things you have. If you have a really good attack in here, use a really good attack. If you have no crit damage in there, use a really good double attack and then a crit rate or anything like that. To be honest, doesn't really matter. I'm using Onslaught plus Fury. Those are the sets that I have good sets in. I would definitely say that people that are using Momentum already, Momentum is definitely fine for this as well because most of the time you're working with like 2, 3 or even 4 debuffs. So you do get a free stack in that. I also have heard people say that Keen Eyes is pretty good. And Keen Eyes actually works slightly different than I expected. Because Keen Eyes, I thought that it was only for the first turn of like a whole match. But it's for every turn you take, apparently. So then in that case, you would have a 25 and a 15 damage up on a Messiah. Which definitely can help you out a bit as well. So I think it's a decent one. But then again, just a simple Onslaught will also definitely do. Side sets, Fury is definitely one of those that's good. But Harvest or anything, any would do that you pretty much just have a good set in with a good shell as well. That's my recommendation. Skill ups, I maxed out the skill 3, which is highly recommended because the speed is located in here, plus the 70 ignore defense. Skill 1 is maxed for just the attack. So we would like to get the attacks in here, like the 15 over here and then the 100 in there. That is definitely something that is on my radar at some point, but big issue, not enough lattices. So moving on to the next, we have a Lily, and actually the turn order is specific in this one as well. I first want to have the Claws move, then I have this thing move, and then I have the Lily move. And therefore, the Lily will actually boost the Messiah in a right turn order, where the Messiah can immediately go on an armor break, Things are slept, so we do extra damage. The reflex or the whatever protection they have is removed. So those are kind of the things that I'm aiming for. Therefore, I have my Lily as the third slot in the speed. I don't put any accuracy on her in this case because it's just simply not really needed against the boss. Normally in accuracy I will use a little bit because it's just nice to reset things, but against these things you don't really reset anything too much. So it's totally fine to just use it like that. And it's pretty much Swift Rush with whatever. That's kind of the thing. I just was looking for something that gave me HP. And as you can see, not that many mythic modules as of yet. Like, there's not too much stats to this. Nothing all too special to it. The shell that she's using is a Gigabyte. I think Gigabyte is really nice. You have to keep in mind with Gigabyte that Gigabyte can sometimes off-key turn order you. But it is decent where you have 2 Gigabytes. And then they off-key turn order themselves into the right turn order again, which is a little bit nice on that one as well. So for skill ups, we do have the skill ups in the skill 1, the most important. That's why you have the S1 in there. But I also full skilled up the skill 2. And the skill 2, I personally really like because you get this twin trick from 20% all the way up to 30%. And you also get a cooldown less on the S2. So I would say for skill ups, I'd rather have her S2 skilled up than her S3 skilled up. But I will definitely do the S3 at some given point in time as well. Moving on to the next. We have a Claws. Once again, we go for the same kind of vibes. I would like to see more accuracy on her. Actually, I'm surprised that this amount of accuracy works. I had more like towards like 80, 90 accuracy on her before. But apparently this works because I've been autoing with this exact set for the last 2 hours-ish. So I would say don't break a working team. As Pete mentioned, is the fastest in slot. Also, modules-wise, you see no mythic modules whatsoever yet. Stats-wise, just a decent amount of HP and defense so they can pack a punch. Skill-ups, 0. But I did give a few skill-ups over here just to get the extra XP or the HP in. Which is recommended on some of those units like, oh, they're kind of on edge of surviving. Just do a little bit of GP outpost because the first few you do are relatively cheap. And I could also add in like these. It probably cost me like 1 run of 10 and I can buy this whole part over there. And that's highly recommended to do for some side characters where you're like, oh, I'm not really sure. I should actually also do that for Lily, for example. Just do the first 5 and that will already give like a lot extra stats in. I should definitely do that. Okay, moving on next. I do have a Mio. Might you ask, can Mio replace the Kazuya? No, not yet. Maybe with max skill ups. I started skilling her up. She's the one that I'm working right now for the skill ups. But that's more PvP related and maybe Inferno DokiDoki. But I think that my current team will also work in Inferno if I have better stats. So she might not even get a play in there as well. And is that sad? No, she will definitely be used for PvP things later. So we don't have to talk about her. Valyrian is definitely one I get a lot of questions on. First of all, oh wait, did I miss the shell? No, I did show the shell Gigabyte on this one as well. This one, shell, first of all, Artisan. So Artisan is defense scaling. I do have Unbreakable and Bramble. That is pretty much the worst sets you can have on her. You want to have anything that gives her extra HP. I thought it's like, okay, you're just going to be stacking out the, what's it called? The shell effect, it's most. But you actually want to be stacking out this thing itself. So you definitely have to have a max skill on her. Otherwise, she just simply does not work. Because she doesn't take the very first turn. But you want to have as much HP on her as possible. In my case, I got 27k. I see most people like 30, 35k HP. That's more of the recommendation I would go for. For shell, you can actually go for a shell that is a level 1 as well, because therefore you will have a lot less speed. And you kind of want her to be slow, because you want her to be in the state of the skill 3 for as long as possible. And you will get that better while having her slowed. So I do see some people also go for a Halloween, so the turn she takes, she can maybe reduce the cooldown on her skill 3 again. Those are definitely recommended things, but the main thing you want to focus on is as much HP as possible. If I would say aim 25k to 35k, 35k would be way better, of course. So that's all for her. Then we also have the Kazuya, which is going to be the second to move in slot. Pretty much similar style as also the Claws and the Lily, but then of course with the accuracy in there. Similar speed, decent HP. I could say for her as well, if she is the first to die, that you add in those over here to just add in a little bit more value there. I think hers already has HP. Yeah, you could add a little bit more defense in there from the other one to stack the shield or the shell a little bit more, but it's not much of a need. Her skill 3 max is definitely recommended because therefore the cooldown goes down. Plus, I think her best in slot shell is a Halloween. And why the Halloween? Is because she has a passive. And if she has a passive, Halloween will go on one or the other skill. But in this case, there's a passive, so there's only one skill to go on, so she will cool down this skill. So this is only a 3-turn cooldown. If you lower it one more turn, you pretty much have this thing up every other turn. And there's the attack down, there's the slumber. Slumber also gives you extra damage. The attack down just makes them hit less. And that is just incredibly good for that sense. Plus, in this case, we do have like a little bit more mythic shells in there because she did need a little bit more investment because she has lower base. That one is not 6-star. The Claws is 6-star. It's not a must to 6-star, but it's definitely helping out for a little bit more speed base and those kind of things. And a little bit more HP, but it's not really a must. And also for the shells, like it's barely it's Swift Rush with barely a completed set. So these are all my shells and my modules for the DokiDoki team. Let's move on to Terramaton. Okay, moving on to Terramaton 4, which we did actually clear on 3 stars. Because Terramaton is pretty much like you kill or get killed and there's nothing in between. It's just as simple as that. So I do have to switch sets. I'm using my DokiDoki set for a little bit on the Heinrich, and I'm using it for a little bit on this one over here. Once again, talking replacements, first of all. If you want to replace Lily, you have to go for a second damage dealer. Could be a Victor, could be a Koros, could be a Leon, but most replacements for Lily would be another damage dealer. A replacement for Heinrich could actually be Holden, the new character, or it would be a Freya. And then the thing is a must. Like we call him the Thing. Like I think that's the right way for it. So yeah, what we have over here, let's first check a run, then we're gonna check in all the gear. This run is, I would say the DokiDoki team was about like 80-90% safe. This one is most likely 90-ish% safe. The only issue I can have is missing the armor break. Moment I miss the armor break, it's just kind of down bad. Sure that the skill of the passive of the thing still goes on the right side. Is this right for you? Yeah, that's my left, your right. So I say it incorrect, but I point it correct. Something like that. Always difficult with a reverse mirror thingy. But yeah, then the second hit, of course, does a lot more damage, and that's the main hit you want to go for. Main reason that I really do like the Heinrich in here is because the boss doesn't get a buff on the defense, and therefore your second hit does an insane amount of damage. If I would do a little bit more damage, it would have been better. It would also, I think it is maybe possible to put the boss in the state where the passive goes on the left arm right away. But for that, you would probably have to use some Jackal guards where you make your Heinrich do very little damage or Freya very little damage. And then most of the damage comes from a Jackal guard, and therefore you can maybe make that work. I think that is doable, but I'm not 100% sure. Also, the replacement on the Claws would probably be a Dina, but it would be a little bit worse. So let's actually check the gear on all of those units. So first of all, the thing is the exact same set as the Messiah. But I do want to go over it once again, because maybe people are just skipping to this part and they're not really talking or not checking the other ones. So in this case, once again, Onslaught Fury, there's definitely a lot of options. In this particular match, it is definitely best to go Momentum because you're working with a lot of debuffs and therefore you do a lot of damage. But Keen Eyes is also incredibly good over here for the thing. You would definitely do more damage than Onslaught, but in the end, you gotta work with what you have. Also, some people did say that 350 crit damage is the max. I'm not sure about that. If you go to the event right now, which is the Call Champion whatever event, there are a few units there with like 450 crit damage. So I think it would not be the max, because of course his passive is stacking the excessive crit rate into more crit damage. Might be a max, might be better that if I go and attack in here that I suddenly start doing a lot of more damage. I'm not 100% sure about that. For the shell, once again, we have a White Fang, just getting as much damage on the White Fang as possible. This one, really good. These two, not that great. This one is actually pretty good for the Messiah itself. So simple as that. Going to the Leon. Leon, once again, same as in the DokiDoki, has to move after the other things, because otherwise she would boost up the thing to move in front of the armor break. You do not want that. Her set, pretty simple. Swift Rush, just a bunch of stats. You don't need accuracy in PvE that much, because you don't really want to be resetting things to, because you just can't. Skill up wise, oh wait, skill ups first. Skill ups on the thing, I'm fully skilled up except for the skill 1. I would say the skill 1 on Terramaton has value as well to get, because then the vulnerability will be usable in your second shot too, when after the boss took a turn. So you can add this in, but I just simply didn't want to yet. But skill ups on the S2 must, skill 3 must. First do the S2, then the S3. Lily skill ups, I went full on the S1, that's the must. The S2 is something that you can go for later, but it's definitely working very well. Weird looking Leon? Yeah, it's Lily. Sorry. Speaking too fast, too much, in too short a time. So let's see for the shell. Gigabyte. It's not really, this one doesn't really do anything for this whole Terramaton. Could be anyone in there, doesn't really matter. Best in slot would be a Black Flag or a Jackal Guard, in my opinion. So yeah, and that's for the things, just to be semi-tanky. Valyrian, once again, same as set as the DokiDoki set. You just want to have as much HP as possible. This set is really weird. Don't recommend to go. Just go for Wellspring or go for anything like that. I also seen people use Time Weave, so if she gets hit or if she takes a turn, she can get like the cooldown reduction in that. Is an option, but it's not really a must either. Just go for as much HP as possible and go for an Artisan, but preferably with HP things in here as well. That definitely helps you out a little bit more. And for skill ups, skill 3 full is needed. You can also skill up these a little bit if the unit is too squishy. That's always an option to skill up these a little bit if a unit is too squishy. Heinrich over here. Heinrich is using a somewhat set of the sleeper, so the Kazuya of the DokiDoki, so I have to exchange those sets. But it's a little bit more damage focused, so you can do a little bit more chip damage. Current shell that he's using is that same Halloween as she was using. In this case, a Jackal Guard would, of course, do a lot better. But I don't have the Jackal Guard on this one on speed just yet. So therefore, I'm not using that. The moment I would have that, I would immediately start using that. It is best if Heinrich moves first, but Heinrich moving second after Claws is totally fine too. As long as they move in front of the Lily, because he also has some damage increase in that. You do have to have the skill 3 on max, because at this point your buff block becomes 2 turns. And 2 turns buff block is a must for this one, if you properly want to use it. Otherwise, just use a Freya. And Freya's just pretty much similar as Lily build, just tanky. Simple as that. So that is about that. And then, wait, did I miss anyone? That is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, that's the whole team. So that is the whole team for Terramaton. Let's move on to Aurora, which is arguably one of the more difficult dungeons out there. Team that I'm using is pretty straightforward. It's pretty much just completely ignoring the mechanic of the immunity. That is my way of doing it. Is that the recommended way? I would say if you have a decent Viper, I would replace Viper on this slot over here. If you don't have a Lily, by all means, I have no fucking clue how you would clear it. I would go to the recommended tab, what everyone else used or something like that. But because this without a Lily, I don't really see possible for me any just yet. I definitely have to upgrade my sets a little bit because she is kind of on the slow side. And the Freya is a little bit on not that tanky side. So those are the 2 things that I have to improve. But let's look at how a match looks like this. Main thing that you want to be aiming for is it would be very nice if your Linglo does move in front of your damage dealer. So in this case also the Lily. Because this will make you reduce damage. And if you have more reduced damage, of course, you're gonna deal less damage. And this is one of those sustaining fights. The more damage you do before they kill you, the better it is. So in this case, Supernova on the side of the Linglo. I tried it with a few other things, like lowering cooldowns and stuff. Not recommended, just go for Supernova. It's absolutely needed here because it's just that good. Valyrian, why good everywhere? Because she gets the survivability and the buffs and everything like that. So this is pretty much just a pretty boring, out-sustaining, long fight. You just do as much damage as possible with the thing. Therefore, the thing is super much a must. The Freya is definitely kind of out of place where I would say a Viper is better. But the Viper, you need a little bit more investment in. Might you ask, why not use Heinrich on the slot of Freya? Good question. Sharp, sharp. The thing is, I would strip the buff and then never land the proper debuff to actually work on a strip buff. That's the main thing. Then what would you say is like, hey, but why do you still then say is like you can use Viper? Viper has the attack down and the speed down. And the speed down, especially also on the left thing, you take a lot less damage that way. And taking less damage just helps you for... Or he's taking less turns, therefore you take less damage. He's on lower attack. Or that thing, I'm not even sure, he or she, I think that's a she, I'm not sure even in these day and ages anymore. But yeah, that's the thing, if you just take less damage, you're good to go for that. So that's one of those things that a Viper would technically do better. But I tried 1 or 2 runs with the Viper and I just noticed that runs with the Freya were doing better for me. Because Viper, I would say you preferably have some skill ups in the skill 3. Whereas a Freya, you can go in without any skill up. So that was kind of my thing in between. It does happen from time to time if the Artisan does go towards the Freya instead of the thing, that the thing dies. But then the other units can sometimes still kind of clean up as long as the boss is kind of on low HP. So that is the real thing about this thing. It's not that much interesting. It would be really nice if Linglo has skill ups on her skill 3 and therefore 1 lower cooldown. Because then she goes for the healing early and that makes the run a lot safer. Because you can see Her skill 3 is pretty much full AoE, heal, whole team, no return, very easy, that kind of stuff. Is it 100% safe? I tried it a bunch on auto, and I would say it's like an 80-90% safe, but it's a lot more safe the moment I would get better, mostly modules, towards the Linglo being faster, or the Freya being more tanky. Like, if I make her faster or her more tanky, I'm definitely golden or in more damage, but that's kind of the hard thing to do. So then for gear, once again, we did already showcase this one in the previous two. It's the exact same set as Terramaton. It's the exact same set as Messiah for the DokiDoki. Once again, skill ups important. You have to do that. Definitely this final skill up over here doesn't matter at all because I just don't shoot any time where there's no immunity. Shell also, once again, you want to do as much damage as possible. Lily, once again, very important that it moves after things. It would technically be a lot better if your Linglo moves in front of your Lily, because then you remove the debuff for the thing to already hit harder in his very first time. So that is the main thing for that. Once again, just make her tanky. That's all there is to it. I have Gigabytes just to give more turns. I think Gigabyte is probably the best thing you can do for her. Just cutting more turns, giving more turns, because the enemy is taking a lot of turns. Therefore, your Gigabytes proccing more, and therefore you just get more turns in for the thing to actually do extra damage. This thing, yeah, the thing. I just call it the thing. But yeah, that's about it. Skill ups wise, I do highly recommend for this dungeon to have S2 maxed as well because of the extra turn meter that you get. Skill 1, of course, everyone by this point probably already did. But I would say skill 2 is really recommended for this as well. Then we move on. Valyrian is the same as mentioned before. As much HP as possible, that's where she stacks from. Artisan on the shell and max skill on the skill 3. Freya, no skill ups whatsoever. Shell is a Halloween. I think Halloween is pretty nice for her in the first place because therefore she has either the skill 2 or the skill 3 on a slightly lower cooldown, which are definitely really good skills for this dungeon altogether. And you want to make her as tanky as possible, and she has to move first in slot. And then we have the Linglo, preferably moving second in slot. Don't have that as of yet. Tanky stats aren't as important on her. She's kind of fine because she is the right element for this. So in that case, I do have like this resistance one, which is kind of bad. But I didn't have any upgrade yet when I started building her. But once again, it's really nice if she's slightly faster than the other units. She doesn't need a lot of HP because her heals are all scaling of the target's HP that you're healing rather than your max HP. So because it's all like their max HP, their max HP, so it's not as important. Skill ups definitely do help out a lot. One thing that is important though, get a cure in, because the cure is 25% extra healing, very important. And of course, Supernova is also very important, and it does also help to have like a healing thing and that done. So those are all of my health for auto teams. I would say most of them are working towards like 80, 90, some are even like more than 90% effective. And this is where I have my good base to start working towards gearing for the Inferno, which is, well, a level and a half away. Don't expect to be clearing Inferno on Terramaton or Aurora. Well, actually, Aurora is 55. Terramaton, I probably need more damage or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. DokiDoki on manual, I think I can already clear with the exact same team. But at the time that I hit level 50, I, of course, also go to Nico Nana. I will also be going towards, what's it called? Shell drops, and then this one to get in the Codex of Magic. So it's a lot of stuff to do at that level 50. Well, guys, thanks a lot for watching for this one. You know where to find me on the YouTube channel. Subscribe here and like the video if you haven't yet. Watch me on Twitch. Also streaming over there. Well, streaming on YouTube as well, so you can check me anywhere. Maybe I'll even make Kick. Let me know in the comments if I should make a Kick account and also stream over there. Anyhow, guys, thanks a lot for watching for this one, and see you as always in the next one. And this was a lot of yap. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.